Hey, what's up you guys? It's Dorothy and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to go into chapter 1 of Marked by PC Cast and Kristen Cast. So let's get right into this video. This video may contain sensitive topics and foul language. If you do not wish to continue, I suggest you click off the video now. You have been warned. Just when I thought my day couldn't get any worse, I saw the dead guy standing next to my locker. Kayla was talking nonstop in her usual K babble, and she didn't even notice him. At first, actually now that I think about it, no one else noticed him until he spoke, which is tragically more evidence of my freakish inability to fit in. No, but Zoe, I swear to God, Heath didn't get that drunk after the game. You really shouldn't be so hard on him. Yeah, I said absently, sure. Then I coughed again. I felt like crap. I must be coming down with what Mr. Wise, my more than slightly insane AP biology teacher, called the teenage plague. If I died, would it get me out of my geometry test tomorrow? One could only hope. Zoe, please, are you even listening? I think he only had like 4, I don't know, maybe 6 beers and maybe like 3 shots, but that's totally besides the point. He probably wouldn't even have had hardly any if your awful parents hadn't made you go home right after the game. We shared a long-suffering look in total agreement about the latest injustice committed against me by my mom and step-loser. She'd married 3 really long years ago. Then after barely half a breath break, Kay was back with the babbling. Plus, he was celebrating. I mean, we beat Union. Kay shook my shoulder and put her face close to mine. Hello, your boyfriend. My almost boyfriend, I corrected her, trying my best not to cough on her. Whatever. Heath is our quarterback, so of course he's going to celebrate. It's been like a million years since Broken Arrow beat Union. 16. I'm crappy at math, but Kay's math impairment makes me look like a genius. Again, whatever. The point is, he was happy. You should give the boy a break. The point is that he was wasted for like the 5th time this week. I'm sorry, but I don't want to go out with a guy whose main focus in life has changed from trying to play college football to trying to chug his 6-pack without puking. I had to pause to cough. I was feeling a little dizzy and forced myself to take a slow, deep breaths when the coughing fit was over. Not that K-Babble noticed. Ew, Heath puking is not a visual I want. I managed to ignore another urge to cough, and kissing him is like sucking on alcohol-soaked feet. Kay scrunched up her face. Okay, sick. Too bad he's so hot. I rolled my eyes, not bothering to try to hide my annoyance at her typical shallowness. You're so grumpy when you're sick. Anyway, you have no idea how lost puppy-like Heath looked after you ignored him at lunch. He couldn't even. Then I saw him, the dead guy. Okay, I realized pretty quick that he wasn't technically dead. He was undead, or unhuman, whatever. Scientists said one thing, people said another, but the end result was the same. There was no mistaking what he was, and even if I hadn't felt the power radiated from him, there was no freaking way I could miss his mark. The sapphire blue crescent moon on his forehead, and additional tattooing of entwining knot work that framed his equally blue eyes. He was a vampire, and worse, he was a tracker. Well, crap, he was standing by my locker. Zoe, you're so not listening to me. Then the vampire spoke, and his ceremonial words slicked across the space between us, dangerous and seductive like blood mixed with melted chocolate. Zoe Montgomery, night has chosen thee. Thy death will be the birth. Night calls to thee. Hearken to hear her sweet voice. Your destiny awaits you at the house of night. He lifted one long white finger and pointed at me as my forehead exploded in pain. Kayla opened her mouth and screamed. When the bright splotches finally cleared from my eyes, I looked up to see Kay's colorless face staring down at me. As usual, I said the first ridiculous thing that came to my mind. Kay, your eyes are popping out of your head like a fish. He marked you. Oh, Zoe, you have the outline of that thing on your forehead. Then she pressed a shaking hand against her white lips, unsuccessfully trying to hold back a sob. I sat up and coughed. I had a killer headache and rubbed at the spot right between my eyebrows. It stung as if a wasp had bit me and radiated pain down around my eyes, all the way across my cheekbones. I felt like I might puke. Zoe. Kay was really crying now and had to speak between wet little hiccups. Oh my God. That guy was a tracker, a vampire tracker. Kay. I blinked hard, trying to clear the pain from my head. Stop crying. You know I hate it when you cry. I reached out to attempt a comforting pat on her shoulder, and she automatically cringed and moved away from me. I couldn't believe it. She actually cringed, like she was afraid of me. She must have seen the hurt in my eyes because she instantly started a string of breathless K-babble. Oh my God, Zoe, what are you going to do? You can't go to that place. You can't be one of those things. This can't be happening. Who am I supposed to go to all of our football games with? I noticed that all during her tirade, she didn't once move any closer to me. I clamped down on my sick, hurt feeling inside that threatened to make me burst into tears. My eyes dried instantly. I was good at hiding tears. I should be. I had 3 years to get good at it. It's okay. I'll figure this out. It's probably some bizarre mistake, I lied. I wasn't really talking. I was just making words come out of my mouth. Still grimacing at the pain in my head, I stood up, looking around. I felt a small measure of relief that Kay and I were the only ones in the math hall, and then I had to choke back what I knew was hysterical laughter. Had I not been totally worried about the geometry test from hell scheduled for tomorrow and had run back to my locker to get my book so I could attempt to obviously and pointlessly study tonight, the tracker would have found me standing outside in front of the school with the majority of the 1,300 kids who went to Broken Arrow South Intermediate High School waiting for what my Barbie clone sister liked to smugly call the big yellow limos. I have a car, but standing around with the less fortunate who have to ride the buses is a time-honored tradition, not to mention an excellent way to check out who's hitting on who. As it was, there was only one other kid in the math hall, a tall, thin guy with messed up teeth, which I could unfortunately see too much of because he was standing there with his mouth flapping open, staring at me like I'd just given birth to a litter of flying pigs. I coughed again, this time a really wet, disgusting cough. The kid made a squeaky little sound and scuttled down the hall to Miss Day's room, clutching a flat board to his bony chest. Guess the chess club hadn't changed its meeting time to Mondays after school. Do vampirs play chess? Were there vampire nerds? How about vampire cheerleaders? Did any vampires play in the band? Were the vampires emo, or were they all goth kids whose wardrobe was predominantly black? Was I going to turn into a goth kid? I didn't particularly like wearing black, at least not exclusively, and I wasn't feeling a sudden desire to change my hairstyle and wear extra eyeliner. All this whirled through my mind while I felt another little hysterical bubble of laughter try to escape from my throat, and was almost thankful when it came out as a cough instead. Zoe, are you okay? Kayla's voice sounded too high, like someone was pinching her, and she'd taken another step away from me. I sighed and felt my first sliver of anger. It wasn't like I asked for this. Kay and I had been friends since 3rd grade, and now she was looking at me like I'd just turned into a monster. Kayla, it's just me, the same me I was 2 seconds ago, and 2 hours ago, and 2 days ago. I made a frustrated gesture toward my throbbing head. This doesn't change who I am. Kay's eyes teared up again, but thankfully her cell phone started singing Madonna's Material Girl. Automatically, she glanced at the caller ID. I could tell by her rabbit in the headlights expression that it was her boyfriend, Jared. Go on, I said, in a flat-tired voice. Ride home with him. Her look of relief was like a slap in my face. Call me later. She threw over her shoulder as she beat a hasty retreat out the side door. I watched her rush across the east lawn to the parking lot. I could see that she had her cell phone smashed to her ear and was talking in animated little bursts. Jared. I'm sure she was already telling him I was turning into a monster. The problem, of course, was that turning into a monster was the brighter of my 2 choices. Choice number 1, I turn into a vampire which equals a monster in just about any human's mind. Choice number 2, my body rejects the change and I die forever. So the good news is that I wouldn't have to take the geometry test tomorrow. The bad news is that I'd have to move into the House of Night, a private boarding school in Tulsa's midtown, known by all my friends as the Vampire Finishing School, where I would spend the next 4 years going through a bizarre and unmarkable physical changes as well as a total and permanent life shakeup. And that's only if the whole process didn't kill me. Great. I didn't want to do either. I just wanted to attempt to be normal, despite the burden of my mega conservative parents, my troll-like younger brother, and my oh-so-perfect older sister. I wanted to pass geometry. I wanted to keep my grades up so that I could get accepted into the veterinary college at OSU and get out of Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. But most of all, I wanted to fit in, at least at school. Home had become hopeless, so all I was left with were my friends and my school. Now they were being taken away from me, too. I rubbed my forehead and then messed with my hair until it semi-covered my eyes, and with any luck the mark had appeared above them, keeping my head ducked down like I was fascinated with the goo that had somehow formed in my purse. I hurried toward the door that led to the student parking lot, but I stopped short of going outside. Through the side-by-side windows and the institutional-looking doors, I could see Heath. Girls flocked around him, posing and flipping their hair, while guys revved ridiculously big pickup trucks and tried but mostly failed to look cool. Doesn't it figure that I would choose that to be attracted to? No, to be fair to myself, I should remember that Heath used to be incredibly sweet, and now even he had his moments, mostly when he bothered to be sober. High-pitched girl giggles flitted to me from the parking lot. Great, Kathy Richer was pretending to smack Heath. Even from where I was standing, it was obvious she thought hitting him was some kind of mating ritual. As usual, clueless Heath was just standing there grinning. What the hell? Well, hell, my day wasn't going to get any better, and there sat my robin's egg blue 1966 VW bug right in the middle of them. No, I couldn't go out there. I couldn't walk into the middle of them with this thing on my forehead. I'd never be able to be a part of them again. Already knew too well what they do. I remember the last kid a tracker had chosen at SIHS. It happened at the beginning of the school year last year. The tracker had come before school started and had targeted the kid, and he was walking in his first hour. I didn't see the tracker, but I did see the kid afterward. For just a second after he dropped his books and ran out of the building, his new mark glowing on his pale forehead and tears washing down his 2 white cheeks. I never forgot how crowded the halls had been that morning and how everyone had backed away from him like he had the plague as he rushed to escape out the front doors of the school. I had been one of those kids who had backed out of his way and stared, even though I felt really sorry for him. I just hadn't wanted to be labeled as the one girl who's friends with those freaks. Sort of ironic now, isn't it? Instead of going to my car, I headed for the nearest restroom, which was thankfully empty. There was 3 stalls. Yes, I double-checked each for feet. One was on the wall. On one wall were 2 sinks, over which hung the 2 medium-sized mirrors. Across from the sinks, the opposite wall was covered with huge mirror that had a ledge below it for holding brushes and makeup and whatnot. I put my purse and my geometry book on the ledge. I took a deep breath in and in one motion lifted my head and brushed back my hair. It was it was like staring into the face of a familiar stranger. You know, that person you see in a crowd and swear you know, but you really don't. Now she was me, the familiar stranger. She had my eyes. They were the same hazel color that could never decide whether it wanted to be green or brown, but my eyes had never been that big and round, or had they? She had my hair long and straight and almost as dark as my grandma's had been before hers had begun to turn silver. The stranger had my high cheekbones, long, strong nose, and wide mouth. More features from my grandma and her Cherokee ancestors, but my face had never been this pale. I'd always been darker skinned than anyone else in my family, but maybe it wasn't that my skin was suddenly so white. Maybe it looked pale in comparison to the dark blue outline of the crescent moon that was perfectly positioned in the middle of my forehead, or maybe it was the horrid fluorescent lighting. I hoped it was the lighting. I stared at the tattoo. It changed me, made it seem as if I belonged to time when the world was bigger, more mysterious. From this day on, my life would never be the same, and for a moment, just an instant, I forgot about the horror of not belonging and felt a shocking burst of pleasure, while deep inside of me, the blood of my grandmother's people rejoiced. That is the end of this chapter. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.